Hey, what's up, outies and innies? I'm talking about the belly buttons, not the designated title. And welcome to a Nerdie Bunch weekly review for Apple TV series Severance. My name's Dave, and joining me to complain about people who don't go through the proper computer shutdown procedures and just power off like savages is my co-host Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, David? And Severance fans.
Did your heart stop when it was just like off?
It did. I actually do hate that. My computer has crashed way too many times. Right. Have backups, everyone.
We're here to talk Severance Season 2, Episode 1. You know, many people have waited almost 3 years for this return.
Which is crazy. I waited a week. I'm so happy though, because I can't imagine 3 years. You guys are strong. Shout out all of you who lived through that, right? But exciting.
The first episode is titled Hello, Mrs. Cobell. The synopsis is as follows. Mark returns to work under different circumstances. Secrets from the outie world come to light. Andrew, this first episode, spoiler-free, how did you feel?
I feel like from the first few minutes, visually, they showed us that we're going to be for a little bit of a different ride, which I was already liking. And then, by the end of the episode, I'm as hooked as I was when I started watching last week. I'm confused, happily confused, but with more details and like more guesses. And still not really knowing what's going on, but I can't wait to find out. And like, there's a lot of breadcrumbs, I feel, because in my post-episode research, there are a lot of things that kind of highlight or point in different directions. So I think this show's started off on a great note. I'm excited. What about you, original fan? How did you compare this after the 3-year wait being part of your decision?
I think this is a great way to do it. You know, it's not a spoiler to say that it just hits the ground kind of running in a way.
Yep.
But at the same time, it feels like a kind of reorientation of kind of the narrative and the stakes and everything that's going to propel us forward.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't an episode that's full of information, but it wasn't slow at the same time. It's kind of like, okay, these are the characters.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to be. And this is kind of like the foundation of what's going to kind of drive their narratives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, sprinkling Easter eggs of like, ooh, what does that mean? Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I love that with these kind of mystery shows as well. And at the same time, it does a good job reminding us why we like these characters in simple moments.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to kind of be introduced to characters who don't have backstory, you know, so to speak, you know, like, and their backstory is just this world and so limited, it's so small, yet we can find intrigue in all of that. And I love all of that. All right, let's get into full spoilers. Yeah, I find it interesting that you watching the show last week and then coming to this, it's almost like you're a severed person, how they perceive time.
Right? Like I got out the elevator and then right back in, like, which is, it might not be so terrible. I don't know.
Which again is how the episode starts, right? It was 3 years for us, but to the character of the world, in that world, it's been 5 months.
5 months, apparently.
But to them, it's quick, right? It's literally like how if you watch this last season to this season, it just connects perfectly, right?
Yeah.
And I was listening to the official podcast, and they were saying this episode is the first episode that we only stay with the innies. We don't see the outie version of anyone.
Yeah.
And so we see Mark S, how his perspective of like going out and coming back in again, continuous in and out.
It's semi-jarring, right? Even to see, because it's like, I think they said last season about don't think about sleep, just think about the effects of the sleep. Like just feel like you're refreshed, and I feel like that's what they're doing to us with this episode. But it was great.
And I love this opening of him running and looking for Miss Casey's room,
the breakout room,
and the long take was like one seamless long take, just running through, which mirrors the first season when he's walking
though,
which I liked. It was like a
nice
back
parallel.
and forth. What did you think when you came to the room, Miss Casey's room? And what's interesting, it wasn't just empty. It was it's empty, but it's like telling you there was something here.
It's like, it's like remodeled-ish.
There was something here, because even like the way the cutouts, of where the doors were and things like that.
Like gaslighting interior decor.
It's like there's nothing here. Was there?
Look away. That was interesting though. Like I wonder how I just can't wait to see the end of this episode or season. Sorry, because how are they going to somehow get to the bottom of this without causing more of a commotion? This is Mark now, quote unquote, working with Haley to discover this, because I have so many questions, but I'll save them for the end. Yeah,
But
these
you know, I want
theories.
to talk about the characters, right? Let's go through the characters
Hmm.
one by one. Obviously, some characters cross over, and that's fine. But we start with Mark S, right? He comes back, and he's told that the others chose not to come back.
Yeah,
Well, they're
my
outies.
milkshake.
They're outies. Yes, by
Yeah,
Milkshake. Milkshake has he's told Milkshake is now in charge because
yeah,
Cobell was fired because she wanted
yeah.
to have a threesome with Mark and his
A
outie.
throuple, yes. Like
I don't know.
for erotic reason, according to
We
Milkshake again.
and we can discuss the logistics of that later because I don't know how that works.
It would it would have to happen in the elevator. I thought about it. No, I actually thought about it. It would
Oh,
have to
right.
happen in the elevator. Yeah,
I'm
that's
thinking this is so true.
that's just that's my final answer.
Ima- Imagine just before you're about to and you switch.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. You get the before and after.
Like, God
That's
damn
actually
it.
funny.
This is some bullshit.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But then he's also told, and I want to ask you this question. We're going to keep talking about Mark here, but this question,
Yeah, like S, right?
Mark
There are
S.
two
Yes,
marks I need to
this is
know.
true. This is
Thank you.
true. He won't change his name to make things
Mm,
easier, the bastard.
No.
But do you believe? And if we believe that it's true that his outie was the only one that said no, I want to come
Yeah,
back. And in fact, he begged them.
begged.
Why?
Uh,
Oh, you believe that's true?
uh,
Do you believe that's true? And why he was the only one?
Do I believe it's true? No, because of the scene they gave us after, right, with everybody coming back in. Um, so yeah, again, I'm gonna save some theories for the end,
Okay.
but I'm suspicious of anything that they say, and you can't trust Milkshake. You know, he says things with a smile, but like a sinister smile, and anything could be
But he brings you
Mhm.
balloons.
Yeah, right. And even gets the secretary to hold them for you, right? So I'm so skeptical of everything in this kind of show, right? Obviously, and I can't just expect that they're telling the truth. That's just me.
In terms of Mark as well, Mark M as well.
S.
S. You say
S.
Mark M. Who's Mark M? There's not even a
No,
Mark M.
no idea.
Mark S. All right. Did he, in terms of he really pushes to bring his people back, right? And then he ends up talking to management.
Yeah,
No, is
the
it
board.
management? The board. Yes, he can
Mhm.
come talking to the board
Oh,
and wants his people
talking
back.
or
Or
speaking.
sending a message.
Yeah,
Sending
exactly.
a message. Which,
Yeah.
side note, do we think the board is an AI? We'll talk about that later. Discuss,
Hmm.
save,
Hmm.
discussion.
Hmm.
I'm just saying. Do you think it's, I don't know, for me, there's something kind of almost selfish about wanting them to come back. Because
Yeah.
what if they did want to stay away? Would people be like, hey, I didn't want to come back in?
Yeah.
It's like the guy in the Matrix who's like, I didn't want to be in the Matrix.
Yeah,
It's
like
bullshit.
Irving for sure would maybe be one of those, like, despite the sadness outside, did he want to come back in? You know, I don't know. Or Dylan, who was never even outside.
Actually, let's talk about Dilla. You know, he's pissed off that he got jumped,
Yeah.
even though, and he messed with his
You know,
belt.
he bit part of Milkshake's arm, but you know, whatever.
He has two great scenes outside of a whole bunch of his quotes, right?
Yes.
His scene with Irv, trying to convince him to kind of stay and not leave.
It was very
And
real. The heart to heart, the tete-a-tete, it was
great.
very authentic. I felt it. I was like, you know what, man? Yeah, he's right, man. You got to stay. You got to fight.
And I like that it was between those two, right?
Mhm.
And he's just like, he helps. He's like, you make me productive. I'm less
Yeah.
productive when you're not here.
He's like, I'll be sad and less productive.
But also, he gets revealed something at the end
Mhm.
that no one else gets seen. Because in one of his issues last season, because he was the character that at the beginning, he was all about, you know, he loved his job. He was great. He was
Yeah.
showing off all the things he had until he gets to see a semblance of his real life, his
Yeah.
outie's life, which is one of them having a son. And that just drove him
Yeah.
crazy. And so I guess, again, one of the many ways Lumen is trying to make things better for everyone they're listening. Lumen is listening,
Superficially.
is trying to make him happy by giving him this kind of
Room.
the outie visitation suite.
Yeah.
What did you
Great
think
idea
about?
though. Sorry, just
Yeah, I was gonna ask you,
When
what do
I
you
saw
think
the
about it?
plans, I was like, you know what, that's not bad. You start to add some quarterly visits. Maybe you do Christmas half and half. Like there are ways to make this work, but it's just the fact that he now has to also keep this secret from the rest of the gang, right? Because he's definitely not going to say it. Because imagine Irving hearing that after what he just went through with the sadness of not being able to be with Bert. And then he hears that you're gonna have a room where you can visit your auntie. Nah, he'd commit suicide because that's what it is, right? It's not,
Mhm.
it's not a I leave this job. It's a good night, essentially.
And
So, yeah,
and I was gonna say, and all of this is, because they had their uprising in the beginning.
hmm
What's it called?
macro
The the
data.
the macro date. And again, that's a constant thing we've seen, right? We've seen that previous episodes where there were
Yeah,
different paintings,
mm.
different types of uprising and things like that. And there's
Which
even that
it
painting that
messes
we
with
see.
me. Yeah, and
All
and
right.
it says that they forgive the betrayers.
Yes,
What
exactly.
what is
With the sword and all the heads
yeah,
there, the four
the
heads.
foreheads. Okay,
But and then
what time is it? Don't worry about it.
even the whole Luminous listening video, which, by the way, do you know who plays the voice of that building?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
I,
The man's
I was
everywhere.
literally like,
I was
I
like, I
hear it.
know that
I
voice.
hear it.
I'm like, if that's not Keanu Reeves, that's a guy doing a Keanu Reeves
I was
impersonation.
like,
And
that's either AI or Keanu himself. There's literally no in between. But no, a nice touch.
and I want to kind of talk about the kind of Lumen's kind of use of propaganda, right? Because
Very, very well.
on one way they're saying, you know, um, we've heard you, we've listened to you, we're going to make life better for you. Don't worry,
Superficially.
there's no cameras and
In
microphones.
in this room. Exactly.
Don't
Wink.
worry about it. But
Say whatever.
to make things easier for you, we've locked down the closet, that one place where we didn't have cameras and
Hmm.
microphones. But don't worry, there's no cameras and microphones everywhere. Look, here, you can have this. You can have all
Yeah.
these things. What do you want? What do you need? You know, and at the
Corporate
same time,
wellness tactics.
and at the same time, they're like, yeah, you guys are super famous. You did a great job, and we're going to make things better for you.
Hmm.
What do you think of their tactics and their propaganda?
I mean, it sucks, but it's like top level corporate nothing. Like right, like that's what happens.
It's
These
like
superficial
we hit
rewards.
quarterly numbers. We're gonna have
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah, we have pizza, and then the big tech companies and other game companies are like, actually, we have to let a bunch of you go, but my salary is I'm gonna cut it in half. It's like, oh, but his dividends cover everything else, right? So, shut up, Lumen. I think what they added different vending machine foods as well. The
Yes.
pineapple games.
Like what?
Why were they tight?
Bobbing for pineapples?
Pineapple
Like
bobbing. I was
how?
like, isn't that painful? Imagine like just imagining a pineapple like splashing up to my face. Anyways, so Lumen is funny, and they should just cut it out. But I feel like it's a commentary on real life in a sense, right? Because companies
Cool.
do that, right? Cutting corners and then rewarding you with, like you said, more pizza or a different type of food, without addressing the real problem. And that's why I'm really enjoying this shows, because I actually want to see what comes of Milkshake now being in charge. And yes, Mark S is no longer in charge of the department.
Well, let's talk about Milkshake,
Yeah,
right? Because he's such an intriguing character.
such a good actor though.
Because it's because of the acting, and I
Yeah,
think because he's a character that I think it's based on it plays on stereotypes because
yeah,
especially because of his role in the previous season, he seemed more like an enforcer,
yeah.
but he rarely, if ever, gets physical, and
No,
he always seems disappointed,
yeah,
right? Because but at the same time, there's always a level underlayer of like sinister feeling.
yeah,
Because I'm still scared of him
yeah. And
because
I
I think
think
he's gonna
that's the
snap
goal. Yeah,
any moment,
and any man who actually cut all of you, right? But you're
right?
right. He has an incredible amount of restraint,
Right.
for some of the things that he's dealt with, and I really like him as an actor and a character, right? He even said to them, I really respect you, even if we may not always see eye to eye, we may have our differences. Um, but you're
Sometimes you have to
right.
be cut to heal or something like that.
Exactly. Which, like, okay, fair, but that's also saying I will cut you too, right? It's a two-way thing. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna keep getting cut. It's like, watch yourself.
All right.
Be careful. But no, I think he really did well as a character. And yeah, I really love his office. The blues and the browns. The
Right.
visual of that office was actually very nice.
Well, except for the fact that his
Right.
screensaver, the welcome message, is
Yeah.
not it's not fixed yet. And he's just staring at
Yes.
it, waiting.
Yeah.
And again, I'm
Uh,
curious to see like his character, you know, is he similar to Cobell? Because
mhm.
we'll talk about her later in terms of theories.
Yeah.
But with her, she was like religiously obsessed
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
whereas he seems more, to use for lack of a better term, business obsessed.
Yeah. No,
Right,
I
because
hear
I
that.
feel like he believes in the company from a business, like, well, more not business, but like a work ethic
Yeah.
standpoint. Like, he has goals, he wants to move up, and he wants to
Uh-huh.
hit quotas, and he
This is
just gets
bored.
mad when people disrupt that. It's just, "Guys, come on. We can just if you do this, we can do this." So what do you think his goals are? And if there are any kind of nefarious, things behind Lumen, is he aware of that? Like,
Aware
how
of
does he see Lumen?
Aware of probably, right? But there are people who don't necessarily agree 100% with the company, but they can adjust their morals to be like, 75% of my morals aligns with most of you. I'll ignore the 25%. So you're right. He tries to not be an aggressor, but he definitely, he has a body count. He's put down one or two people who stepped out of line. That's how I read Milkshake, and I can't knock on the Milkshake now. Sorry,
Oh, no, that's
it's
it.
a,
His name is Milkshake from
it's
now on.
it's changed forever.
Do you
Mark's
really
message.
think I'm a shambolic rude? He
Right?
was so upset.
It's moments like that you have to appreciate it. Like you said, he was disappointed and sad more than anything.
He was hurt.
Yeah, forget the letter. Like, why did I receive the dagger?
Like, why me?
Why?
And you didn't even bother
The
to hide your handwriting. Like, the insults.
it's like Mark is crazy for that. Mark S. He really tried to. He was like, "Wait, you guys think that was me?" I was like,
What?
"Mark, shit."
Though there's a part of me that thinks, and this is just me kind of giving benefit of the doubt, that thinks that whole plan was the plan so that he could
Intentional.
get to the office.
Yeah.
Because if you think
No,
of it that
no,
way,
it
it's
was.
convenient.
No, it was because when he said, "Did you?" I bet you didn't see what I did with the kitchenette, right? And they all turned and he took off. I was like, all right, yeah,
Because
we
that's the
back,
thing. I
baby.
felt like from the moment he wrote the note knowing he'd be caught.
Yeah, I know
Not
that, like you said, that
Yeah,
was the intent. It was at that
yeah.
moment I would then escape. So it just made that scene funnier. Like, wait, you guys,
And then the way he
and
kinda grabs his lanyard, it knew that you've been demoted.
they're all sitting there looking at him like,
Yes.
literally, bitch, please.
I bet you don't even have a brother-in-law.
Oh no, she was good. I was surprised, happily
Which
surprised to see her, seeing him
which I did like.
stuff.
If we can kinda skip around a bit. I like that of the new characters. Whether or not we see them again, I think we
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
Um, I like them as a way to kind of remind us what people who kind of only know this world are like, right?
yeah,
Because our main characters have got a taste of the outside world,
yeah.
right? These are people who are still like, "Oh my god, what does air feel like?
Inside the
You feel like someone
cage. Yeah.
breathing?
Like you didn't look at the sky. They were like, "Oh, come on, we're
What?
like, come, how could you?"
What's wrong with you? Like, how did you not? We've all made bets, and
Yeah,
like brother-in-law is
I
not
love
one of
that
them.
because now we know that there were 206. Am I correct?
Yes.
At least locations,
Uh-huh.
right? So yeah, it's such a the scope of the show is increasing, and I like that. I like that we still have our inner nucleus of guys that we're following
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
lady, but there's now a bigger world that we can tap into.
Let's talk about Milkshake's replacement, because if he
Mhm.
moves up, somebody has to fill that gap. Mrs. Huang.
Miss Huang.
She's not your friend.
That scene. Mark was like, three friends then, all with a smile.
What did you
Oh,
think
so good.
of her? The fact that she's the youngest member by far because of when she was born.
Hmm. That reply, I had to write it down. Like top notch reply. Like, why are you a child? It's because of when I was born.
Like what kind
Like,
of question? Okay, move on. Like,
is that relevant to your work? I don't understand. Oh, she was really good, both in terms of the acting and the character. Um, and it's just it's making my theories just continue to bubble up because why is there a child here whose parent
mhm,
agreed to let their child do this,
right? Because
or
then does you'd think there would maybe
was
a parent agree to it.
or was this an orphan who said this child had parents,
Oh, true.
or who says this person is even alive? Oh my gosh, let's
And
just
then even she seems to have a personality of someone mature and older.
mm-hmm,
right? Because then my brain goes to, and it's probably wrong. Actually, I could get that to theories, but my brain goes to stuff like stacks.
Yeah.
If you
Hey,
know, you
man.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
So things like that. I'm curious about the character because again, I like the kind of like stoic nature of her. Even when Milkshake stops her from playing her game,
Yeah.
she plays the like old school water game version of it. The same
I
thing.
I
You
I I literally I felt old in that moment. I was like, "Oh, I know I played that. I know that game. Oh my gosh."
one of those.
Yeah. Oh, good times. Good memories just came swirling through.
And Irving, he doesn't like what he saw. He tells Dylan about his painting.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see where his storyline is going, because I'm curious to his storyline with Bert, are we continuing that?
Yeah.
But then his own storyline in terms of his art and what he's kind of he's drawing. Do you have any ideas? Again, you can elaborate in theory time, but do you have any ideas of where you think that's going?
Yeah, I don't know because the only connection is that that painting is the same hallway that Mark's Miss Casey
Mhm.
went towards the testing room, right? So I can't wait to see what the connection might be. But I this is such a hard show to actually make some guesses in because it's like it literally could be anything. So I'm not sure. I'm super curious. That maybe he's been down there a couple times and that's all he remembers now on the outside. Like it ties in with my future, guess at the end of this about multiple severances, right? Like his brain is just all he can think about is that room that he's been to numerous times. But the question of why and what actually happens there, I don't know.
Sure. All right, let's get into our theory time. Theory times when we bring up theories that probably won't happen, and they're probably out there and
But definitely
crazy,
will.
but could maybe happen. You never know. So, first theory, we haven't really talked about her because I feel like everything to talk about her in this episode deals with theory time,
Yeah,
right? Helly. We
yeah.
found out that Helly, her outie, is actually part of the Egan family.
Mhm.
And the whole point of putting herself through the severance is because public relations had to look good. Like, if I can
Of
do it,
course. Then you
daughter
can
of
too.
Ling, then everyone can do it. Everyone, the whole world should have it.
Mm.
And multiple times when Healy tried to leave last season, her auntie was like, what are you doing?
Like, girl,
Get your ass back
I
in there.
was.
Get your ass back
Yeah.
in there. And this episode, Healy's always been someone who's going to be very vocal about her feelings and her thoughts and everything
Yeah.
that she's like. She'll say it, even if she shouldn't say it. And they were like,
Yeah.
"Don't say it right now." She'll
Yeah.
say it. She's like, "I don't
Yeah.
care." Her legs will be tapping. She's like, "Oh, I have to say it."
Mhm.
So, given the opportunity to kind of tell what happened, what she experienced, because when they're all telling about the experiences outside, why did she lie? And even Herb is like, "Night gardener."
Like, despite his grief, Herb's like, I call bullshit.
What? Okay.
Yeah, that's the Audi, man. It has to be. There's
Yeah,
no way that's her.
you
That's
think that's the outie?
that's it. Just has to be. That I feel my has to be is like 90%. There's a 10% chance it's her. And she feels so embarrassed by the fact that she is part of the people that they're trying to basically topple,
And
right? And the
she has no control.
absolutely no control. She knows that there's absolutely no way they're ever gonna let her leave this place. Maybe, but I feel like she would still have maybe given Mark the inkling of like, and I need to talk to you. Oh, I can't say it. One of those like where it's like, oh, Mark, I need to tell you, and then somebody interrupts. I feel like we'd have gotten one of those. So I'm just leaning towards that. That's the Audi. That's my, Kobe shot. Rest in peace. And
My
theory guess.
My only I'm with you, first of all, with this, because that's the first thing I was thinking. I was like, why she lie? The only reason she'd be lying is, for her to not be that version of her. And again,
Yeah.
5 months is enough time to kind of, all right, let me see the files, let me watch the video clips. 'Cause clearly we know they filmed everything because when you watch that
Everything.
Lumen video, they're even using audio from when they talked.
Which is
Right?
crazy.
It's like what? And I love when you see the video of them kissing her and Mark kissing and everyone and the way everyone reacts are like, oh, look at this
Like
bullshit they made up.
like, why would they do that? And then
This is
but if you
dumb,
see from
guys.
the front, her and Mark were both looking
Like,
down.
which is my point, is why I think it might actually be her. Because I feel like the version any version of her would kind of feel that like kind of like, oh, I'm embarrassed. I think the outie version would be more confused than embarrassed. Plus, I think for me, the one clue that says it might be the any version
Amen. Uh-huh.
is when they were talking about Gemma. and he was like, she's my wife, and he's like, no, she's not
Mm,
your wife.
yeah,
She's the other version's wife. And she was like, oh, so how did you were you smiling the picture? There's almost like a tinge of jealousy asking those
yeah.
questions.
But that's why I thought it was yes Inni as well. But then I thought, like you said, oh my gosh, has she read about 'cause that 5 month thing is messing with me, right? You're right. When they dropped that 5 month, I was like, like this is perfect, a perfect field for at the end of the season to show you all the things that you didn't see in the 5 months, right? To
Right.
explain it all, right? So I'm like, I'm not falling for anything. I'm watching you.
How deep can this go? Like
Mm.
how how far is the outie version of Helly willing to go to kind of make this work? I think that's the question that answers
Which I
everything,
assume
right?
is all the way.
Right, exactly, exactly. So like even learning memory stuff, or I don't know, create when crazy theory time, is there such
Hmm.
a thing as memory implants
Yeah.
within this, right? And things like
Cause,
that.
'cause like you said, they record everything, man. Let's be real. Like it's not if she was going to actually be a spy in her own organization, I know she would prepare.
Mhm.
That's just my again. Since this is theory time, that's where I stand on that.
The she seems very much gusto of us like, we don't owe them anything. Freaking
Mm-hmm.
fuck the Mounties, yeah. Even
Yeah.
even I, speaking of that, I love when Dylan's just like, yeah, if they get killed, doesn't matter, fuck
So, Dylan is such a great character.
'em. Were all
Oh,
of us equally famous, or just like one of us was the
what
star?
if at the beginning?
The things he
Oh
wants to
yeah.
know, I love it. I love it. Um, I think the big theory of the
Mm-hmm.
episode, blinking you miss it. If you're someone that kind of watches stuff with looking at your phone, there's something you could have missed, right? At the end where you get the flash on the screen, when Mark S is working on his computer screen,
Yep.
and he's working on something called the Cold Harbor. It's tied to a
Mm-hmm.
file called Cold Harbor, and then you get a flash on the screen, and we see Gemma, aka Miss
Miss
Casey,
Casey.
and the same file is there, Cold Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you don't know what that's telling us, but do you have any crazy theories of what that's trying to tell us? What are they doing? We still don't know what they do. So is what he's doing in terms of his job connected to that file? Like, is he doing
Mm-hmm.
something connected to her or something like that? What are
Mm-hmm.
your theories?
Um, maybe Miss Casey really died or almost died in the real world. And this is almost like a matrix type of thing, right? Where you plug in your consciousness to this other severed world. And that's how they're trying to use Severance to achieve immortality overall, right? So that they can get Yugen's
Mm.
mind into newer bodies because it's like we now know how to do consciousness into person, right? But just do something to your brain. So that's where I stand long term because
Interesting.
it somehow makes sense. Just it somehow makes
Oh, we're
sense.
really playing with stacks here.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
I like that theory. I like that theory. Yeah, I've seen some theories out there that's like, it's some kind of way to because Mark S knows her in the real world, right? He knows
Yeah.
her. It's kind of a way to kind of control someone's emotional state,
Yeah.
so that you can kind of have them do what you need to do without them becoming so emotional that they kind of loosen your control over them, right? Because it's like
That's
balancing the
deep.
emotional state, right?
Yeah.
Just enough that you can do the work or do the creativity we need to do, but not so much that you start creating
Like,
individuality and
yeah.
freedoms, things like that,
Yeah.
you know. But
That's
again,
wild though. Because based on that, like I said, I also suspect like or the question being, okay, the mark we saw at first, I saw the other three, the mark W and co. Is that the same mark as our mark? Right?
oh,
And
I mean,
that
Dylan says, which one was me?
yeah, right. 'Cause I was trying to do that too. Like, okay, how are we replacing the three? Is it by position or is it by personality? Let's watch them. But anyway, like I said, they did well. I'm curious to see more of those three. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Is that the same mark? Kind of. Is there a multiple severance thing that goes on in here? Is there like maybe mind wiping? Is this kind of like no spoilers for Silo? Is there something in the water? I don't know. Right? There. I feel like there are a few like horizontal possibilities with everything
Mhm.
that's happening, right? And each of them is pretty possible. It's definitely not multiverse though.
Is there any moments or parts that you liked that we haven't spoken about?
Let me just read this. I mentioned my pineapple bobbing, of course.
I liked Dario. when he mentions that, because they're all
Yeah.
comparing their kind of Egans, and
Hmm.
Gwendolyn's like, "Oh, I was an animatronic. They can move." And then Mark S is like, "Oh, I was that move." And then
And
he's like,
Italian like
he's like, "You're the
brooms and
animatronic." It's
plates.
like, "Ours are made of brooms and their faces
Brooms
are
with
plates."
plates.
We were very poor. Instead of an elevator, he had a rope, which I don't know if that's a joke because you think about the logistics, right? How did, in terms of what we see, how did they what's the severance process in terms of the
Yeah.
daily process? Is they go down the elevator and it switches and they kind of wake up. How does that work with a rope?
With the rope. Hey
He's like,
man,
"Oh shit,
this
grab on, or you let go."
I feel like it was never about the elevator. It's more about like a height cutoff. So it's still like even if it's a rope, once you pass that point, you're still severed, right?
He's just
And
like
that
wake
was
up
so
holding onto
funny.
a rope, like, "Oh shit."
That was good. He did have a, like his little sculpture was wooden compared to I think the glass and other more expensive items that
Mhm.
the others have theirs cut out of. So I feel like that was also an indication that yeah, he did grow up in the boonies, right?
Also, it's interesting that at least he hasn't spoken English. He
Hmm.
still doesn't seem to understand English. He's just
I
like,
don't know. I feel like he threw some word randomly
right,
at
right.
some points, right? Like he's kind of trying, but he's no, he's pure Italian.
Moving forward, this season and next few episodes, obviously, I think we're going to see the other members again. Do you
Hmm.
think they're going to significantly impact the episode? Like, are they going to be almost kind of like antagonists to our main characters in
And these
terms
are
of,
who the other Mark
yeah,
W
yeah,
and Co.
yeah?
I think so because you always
Or
need
are they
some
going to be
antagonists to
pulled
make it
into
spicy.
to our side? Are they going to be pulled into the truth, or are they going to fight to the truth?
The thing about when you have multiple people, three in number, is that you could have a combination of those things, right? You never know.
Very
It's
true.
like Irving wants to leave, Mark wants to stay, Haley in or out question mark wants to stay and help Mark. Um, Dylan wants to stay because he's gonna get a way to be seeing the Audis. Which, by the way, I don't know if I believe. Did I actually touch on that? Like
What?
just because somebody shows me blueprints,
Oh,
it's like you said about milkshake. I don't know that that's a real thing that they're actually planning to do. It's possible, based on how I think they really want Severance to be accepted, in the normal world, in the upside down. Well, I could see that being real, but I feel like milkshake is just very much still manipulative. And I do wonder because I'm still calling that the 25% of him is sinister. It's it's all a cover up. He's just being nice,
I'll
just
say.
because he was so down with Miss Kobe's plans. He never showed a sign of like,
So
oh, I feel like this is wrong.
you're saying there's no version of him that you think can be on some level a victim himself
Can
of this
oh for
whole.
sure, no, he can be, but
Yeah.
I still don't think he's going to be nice just because of that.
Oh, okay. And finally, of course, the title of the episode, "Hello, Miss Kobo,"
Hmm.
hanging over the whole episode. But we don't see her.
I know
What are your assumptions for what she's up to?
the
Like, what are her
the
intentions?
The
Because on one side, she
that's
loves the idea and the mythology and everything of Lumen and the original founders,
mhm,
but she doesn't seem to kind of. And again, we don't know the whole company. Like, what was, maybe she knows or she thinks she knows what the original goals and intentions were. And maybe they kind of veered away.
yeah,
What do you think she's going to do? She's almost like the kind of wild card.
yeah. I don't know, so I have to admit, my theory is because for once, it wasn't my choice, but for once, I actually watched, like, the trailer for the season, which I usually don't, and so, you see scenes, and I've seen, like, scenes that I don't want to mention specifically, it's not ruin it for anyone, but I'll just kind of meld it into my theories, right? Is just because right after she helped Lumen discover this whole plan, right? The microdata revolution. What's the phrase again? Microdata uprising, right?
Oh,
Um, there's no way they were just like, okay, fine, you're still fired. Bye. I don't know. It feels, I don't know. It feels harsh because that's a big one. That's a big W, right? That she brought to them. So I feel like she's still somewhere as a spy. Like maybe she's watching the video of this whole episode and now watching Mark, right? Like
you
there
think
has
you
to be
think
a connection.
she's still actually working with Lumen, or she's a whole
You see,
independent entity?
it might be one of the two things, if that makes sense. She's still involved in this world, even if they're not aware, because she was trying to have a throuple with this fella, right? I'm not buying that she's just gonna give up and be like, okay, I'm out,
Oh no,
bye
we're
guys.
sure saying more of her. I think again, you don't name this episode after her, but I think I think she's this kind of wild card that in her head she's like, how dare you, Lumen, the company, fire
Yeah,
me? I'm the one that can spearhead Lumen, the idea and the
yeah,
concepts. Because again, she sees it more on a religious level than a
yeah,
business level, right? So she sees
yeah.
for herself,
Yeah.
she's like, it's higher than that. How
You
dare
know
you?
what would be interesting, since we're in theory time, is if she's not part of the board, and has moved up in
Exactly.
placement. Yeah,
Well, let's
like
quickly talk about the board. Finally, again, we left theory time, but whatever. What if find it interesting that the board's someone's just sitting there always listening just in case someone grabs the speaker and talks. So I'm thinking, and then even the way, for those of you who've seen Person of Interest, no spoilers, but even the way previously
mm,
talking to the earpiece and things like that,
mhm,
I think the board might be AI or
yeah,
AI related.
it would
We've been
tie
seeing a lot
in.
of AI stories lately in some of our podcasts. Check out other podcasts to find out which ones.
Mhm.
All right, and I think this might be another one. All right.
I think I actually have to agree with you. Even if it's at least less board members than we think, right? Like the board, a board normally feels like 8 people, right? In a DC comic, this would be like the League of Villains, and you have the Joker, you have multiple people on here, but here it's definitely at least max one person, which is the founder, and an AI, or like an AI bot that even like gathers the notes for him. It's not more than 2 people max.
Because this again, I'll bleep this out for people who haven't watched it, but this kind of reminds me of
Mhm.
in some ways because I
I've been
kind of
trying to
got that
not
kind of
say it because it's like, same vibes.
yeah, I was getting the same kind of vibes.
It's giving robots.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you nerdies think of this season's return? What do you think of this episode? What are your expectations going for the future? And what are your crazy, wild out there theories that could be right?
Maybe.
Let us know. Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. You can also find us an email, thenerdybunchpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, David.
Oh, and also check out some of our other podcasts. There's a whole bunch of season
Please.
finales. Apple dropped the season finale of Silo season 2
Great
and
stuff.
premiere of this season 1 and season 2, episode 1. I'm confused. So many things. Everything. However, we're going to try and knock it out all for you. My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch weekly review of Severance season 2. We did episode 1 this week. Tune in next week for episode 2. And as always, Andrew,
Keep it nerdy.
peace.